Hello, it's just gone 6 minutes past 9 o'clock. It is coming live from London, UK. This is Wicked Women 888. Don't adjust your monitor. We are all here. I just want to say good, happy Sunday to everyone. Evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're coming from. We wish you a very happy Sunday. First of all, apologies for not being here last week. It's been a bit of a difficult week. When you lose someone that's very special to you through a bereavement, it kind of throws you. So we had to cancel the program last week. So thanks everybody for understanding and the lovely messages. But we're back. And as you can see, normally in Wicked Women, we do our red, black and white. That's our thing. But tonight, all of us have a bit of blue on in memory of the fantastic guy who sadly we lost last Sunday, early hours of Sunday morning. So I'm going to bring in my hostess with the mostest, the lady who puts the twang in Virginia. I'm going to bring in the lovely Val. Hello, darling.
Hello.
How are you?
Hot, but it's okay.
It's good to see you, and thank you so much for letting everybody know about last week. It's been a week of it, and I think everyone noticed we always have red, black, and white. That's our thing. And tonight we're all in blue. Our names are in blue. You've got your glasses on.
I have my blue glasses because I have nothing in blue.
It was his favorite color. So literally we're all doing it. And we've had to change the topic for tonight because we were going to do a completely different show. And that is coming in on the 3rd of August. Just to remind everyone, there will be no Wicked Women next week. I don't think there will because I have a show to do, so I don't think there'll be one. But we will be back on the first week of August with that show that is called Good Vibrations. So obviously this show you and I spoke about, and I know Michael is waiting backstage. We talked about it, and it was about, no regrets,
right.
Loved and lost. And we've all loved and we've all lost, and all of us have regrets. And we felt like we wanted to put something out there, and it is kind of like an impromptu, but we thought we wanted to put something together to talk about that, life can be really short and you have to grab every opportunity and chance that you get.
Right.
And you always think that we've got so much sand, in the egg timer, and then we find out we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, regrets can come in all, shapes and sizes, and it's not just about lost loves. It could be about a lot of things, opportunities, or it's not just about your love life. It can be in any part of your life.
Yeah.
So it's not just about not telling that person that you care for them, or how you really feel. It could be anything from job opportunities that you didn't go for, or anything, any part of your life.
I also think as well, when you talk to someone, they go, oh, it's just, I regret that. I wish I didn't do it, or I wish I had done it. And then you'll talk to someone else who says, no, I don't have anything. Regrets are a waste of time. What's the point of having them? And I think that, for me personally, I look back at some of my life and I think to myself, do I have some regrets? Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I think we all do in some shape or form.
Hi, George.
Hey, George.
Hey, George. So for me, like, I look back and I go, because of my life and circumstances and my health, I didn't get a
Right.
chance to do some things I wanted. I didn't
Yeah.
get, like, I never had children. Wasn't my fault. Wasn't it just something that sadly wasn't meant to be? But it will be a regret for the rest of my life that I didn't have them.
Yeah.
And I guess that was my path. And so for you, Val, what do you look back in your life and think, regret or I don't have regrets? How do you sit on the fence with this?
Well, I think we all have certain regrets. Um, you know, first of all, I think my life turned out the way it was supposed to be. I think if I hadn't made certain choices, or if I had made certain choices, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. But yeah, I have regrets. I regret marrying my second husband, but it happened, and I have to think. I have to tell myself it happened for a reason. It happened to make me into who I am today. But sure, I think we all have regrets. But I think we have to look at, well, first of all, I think we all look back and think, well, I wonder what would my life have been if I had taken that leap instead of being too afraid to or whatever. But, it could have been worse. So
Yeah,
I think everything turns out the way it's supposed to. Even
that's
in
an
our mind, if it feels like a regret, I
mm,
still feel like we were meant to do that.
that's an interesting take that you've got on it, because like people say regrets are a waste of time, but if, for instance, telling someone how you feel about them, and maybe you are scared to tell them how you feel because you're frightened you're going to get, first of all, it's not they don't feel the same, it makes them feel uncomfortable, it's changed everything between you. And there are some things that we don't feel that we can talk about with people because we're not quite sure how they're going to respond to what we're going to say. And then you might think, well, now I regret if I don't tell them, but if I do tell them, I might regret that because then they might react to me badly, and that's a human way to respond. And then I regret
Sure.
telling them that.
Yeah, and I agree, but I honestly feel like, and maybe it's just since the older I get, the more I feel this way.
Mhm.
I feel like if you feel the need to do something, there's a reason you feel that way. And now I know why I'm so dark. I don't have my thing on. um, I feel like if you feel the need to do or say something or tell someone something, you need to do it because there's a reason that you're feeling that way. If it doesn't turn out the way you thought it would or hoped it would, at least you tried.
But it takes a lot of courage sometimes to say something to
Honestly.
someone, doesn't it? It takes a lot of guts to say, God, this is going to take everything I've got. Telling someone you love them, for example, using that as an example, that can be a very scary thing, especially if you
Sure.
know whatever that the situation might be completely opposite. And also, I imagine there's a lot of people, and I use this as an example, but I've known a lot of people in my life, in my so many decades on this planet, and I remember a lot of people said to me, when a friend of mine came out as gay, and he was like, "I wish I'd never said it. I wish I'd never told anybody because I've had nothing but problems since I did it." And if I'd kept it quiet, although they'd not be speaking their truth, um, you know and so he feels that way. It took him a long time to come to terms with that. Also, I think as well, we've got the titles of loved and lost, Val, on there. We've all loved, we've all lost. But I also think, what do we do when we lose somebody who is somebody we wanted quite badly and we couldn't and we can't have, and what do we do without them now, because we had so much invested emotionally in that person, and yet we're not with that person.
I think it's, everyone feels differently about that. And we all have to deal in our own way. It's one of those things that you can't really give advice on because everyone is so different. Everyone feels differently about certain things, and especially emotional. Some people may be able to handle it with no problems. Others may be so crushed that it takes them takes them a lot longer to come to grips or get over that. Not necessarily get over it, but deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you can beat yourself up quite a lot, can't you?
Everyone says, well, what if I had done this, and what if I'd, certainly been there? What if I'd talked to them beforehand, or anything like that? I think that is a deeper regret. Like when you've lost a parent, and I'm speaking from experience, when you've lost a parent and you sit and you think, I should have done this, or I should have been there more, or I should have called more, I should have visited, should have talked to him more. But in the long run, nothing that I could have said, done, would have changed anything. I don't think that anything you can do or say is going to change the way things turn out.
Yes, that's a very good point. Keith says it sounded like a male deep voice just said something. I did hear something actually just now, not quite sure what it was, but I did hear something for sure. For me, it's like, if there are things I don't do in my lifetime, I'm going to regret it, because, we are given so many sands in the hourglass, and they start to run out. And we think when we're 25, 30, oh, we've got loads of time yet. I'll do it then, or I'll put it off for then. And we stay in bad relationships, bad jobs, bad situations. And we just go, I'll put it off to tomorrow. I've got something else to do. Not realizing that tomorrow may never come.
Right.
Or, the sand's running down. So, when I hear a lot of people say, I wanted to do it, but I didn't do it, and I should have done it, and I could have got like that. It seems that all of us have a natural human way of responding, as in, I should have done that. And JB comes up with, you drive on, but that's not always easy, is it?
No. A friend of mine has told me several times, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, if you feel like you need to do something, you need to do it because there's a reason you feel that way. If it doesn't turn out the way you want it to do, you get up and brush yourself off and move on. Like you said, it's easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah.
But I feel like as you go through life, that's what you have to do. You can't sit, in a dark room and all these opportunities or things pass you by, and then you sit there and regret it for the rest of your life. You either regret not doing it, or do it and sometimes regret it, but at least you tried.
I mean, it's a true saying of mine, everything's a gamble. It either works or it doesn't. And
exactly.
And we're all busy. Life happens. There's always something going on to distract us from life. And we know
Sure.
what we should do, but we never get around to doing it. And now we've got phones that just do texts and emails. We can send things off so many quickly to people. But in the back of our minds, often I think we know we're neglecting some parts of our life. I need to be fitter. Perhaps I need to change my job. I need to stop listening to people. I need to start listening to myself and my own truth. It's about time I cared about my life and not what they want me to do, because a lot of people in our life, they think they know what's right for us. They think you should go down this tried and tested road. This is the safe way to go. And we put other people's thoughts and feelings, like our children, using that as an example, or a spouse or a work colleague or a boss, we put other people's feelings in front of ours only, and actually what the person we're hurting the most is ourselves.
Yeah. And I know if anyone who has kids, and it's not the kid's fault, but you do sacrifice a lot of what you want to do for them,
Yes.
or what you feel like you need to do for them, when it's honestly only hurting both of you. Because if you do what's best for you, it inevitably turns out best for them. Because if you live with depression because you didn't do something, or if you're down on yourself because you didn't take a certain opportunity, it goes off on them.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for kids or any of your loved ones. Because it always seems to me like if the mother is happy, kids are happier. It kind of rubs off on them, good or bad. So you do have, and most people don't like to take care of themselves because they feel like they're being selfish, when honestly taking care of yourself and your emotional and physical both is so much better for everyone around you. But it's hard to do that.
Yeah, because everyone else has a say, and the thing is, then something happens, a good friend, a loved one, maybe near in age, maybe not, drops dead unexpectedly. And then we go, oh my God, it brings everything home to us. It reminds us of our mortality and how fragile our life is. And just by, an illness or an accident or, anything can make it happen. And we look about that, if we start to look at our mortality in our own way and go, right, so I was on my final path, what would be my regrets? And some of the 25 biggest regrets that I looked up on, this is some of them. And the question is, are you going to change anything this afternoon or tomorrow because of what's happened? Or are you going to go back to your life and go, I'll think about it? So working so much at the expense of family and friends. You're working all the time. Your partner doesn't see you. You're exhausted. You've got no time for yourself, no time for them. I worked too much. I gave too much to the job. Let's be honest. Every job, if you drop dead tomorrow, they'd replace you like that in a heartbeat. And absolutely. So they don't care. You're just a number really to them. Going back to our school days, standing up to bullies, people that bullied us in life. Why didn't I stand up? Why didn't I say something? Maybe I didn't tell someone, to fuck off, because basically, what is it? Helen Mirren, who says that if she could say anything to her younger self, it was to tell people to fuck off more, and say no, because we tend to go, okay.
Well, I think we worry too much about hurting someone's feelings when honestly they wouldn't think twice about hurting ours.
Not at all.
And I think a lot of us are kind of programmed to not say no to people.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes to a detriment of ourselves, because we say no to ourselves more than we do everybody else.
That
You
is
know,
the truest word, Val. That is the truest word.
Yeah.
We say no more to ourselves and what our thoughts and feelings are and our wishes than we do to everyone else. That is it in a nutshell.
yeah, and we shouldn't. You know, I think we're literally programmed to do that because we feel like our needs are secondary.
Mm.
You know, someone calls, and if it puts you in a bad place, it doesn't matter because you're helping them. You know, they don't think, okay, I'm putting you in a bad place, you know, worse than I'm in, but I'm still going to call you because I
Yeah.
know you'll do it.
And people know, they know how to press your buttons and your triggers, and they know how to, kids are very good at that. Kids are good at manipulating you. And
Yeah.
they'll either using this example as I'm going to use this as a scenario. I'm watching that, and just like that, the spin-off from Sex and the City. Carrie's back with Aidan. He wants to be with her. She wants to be with him. Every time he tries to be with her, his kid kicks off and has just makes life really difficult, and he has to run him back because the kid's in control. He's manipulating, but because the kid has ADHD or other issues or something like that, he has to go. So he's sacrificing. And I know they say as a parent, you sacrifice. But as I said, and you and I have said before, kids grow up, they become selfish, they get their own life, and they leave you behind.
Yeah.
And kids still love selfish parents. They really, really do. You talked about the friends. You can't get time back. And there are people in my life that I wish were in my life and regret that they're not in my life.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't do anything about that. You just have to sit back and wait for that situation. Maybe change, maybe it won't change. But what I hate is all the time we could have had together, all the things that we could have experienced together, but because of a fight or maybe someone came along and changed things between you, or maybe they changed, maybe the friendship wasn't as important anymore, maybe they moved away to work or whatever, it's changed and you've lost that time.
You know, I have a similar situation with a really good friend of mine. You know, we've been friends for 30 years, but he started dating someone, and now I haven't talked to him. We used to talk almost every day, and it's probably been a year or so. He doesn't answer. You know, at first I tried to message him and wish him well and all that, and he doesn't answer. So yeah, I regret the fact that we're not as close anymore.
Mm.
But I also just stopped and thought, okay, I'm not going to run after somebody just so that they'll speak to me.
Yes.
He has his own life. I do too. So what I need to focus on is myself and just wish him well.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can drive yourself crazy trying to figure out, oh, you know, why are they not speaking to me? What happened? You know, did I do something? It doesn't matter. If they want to speak to you, they will. If they don't, then there's nothing you can do about it.
Nothing you can do. I think that's wise words. One of the other ones that people regret apparently is that they didn't turn their phone off more. They didn't leave the phone at home. They were so busy using social media, email. They sleep. Obviously, we all sleep with it. I mean, I sleep with my phone right next to me. And sometimes your phone is the most important thing in the world for whatever reason. And sometimes we need to put it down, especially when you're spending time with loved ones, and go, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to have this time with you. And the phone, unless you've got to keep it on for an elderly relative or a child or pet or whatever, I think that's a very important thing. So many of us don't do that now.
Yeah. Which I know that I leave my phone on because my mother and my aunt are, older if they need me, my daughters, so I never turn it completely off.
No, I don't.
Now I will leave it in one room while I go somewhere else and do something. If I hear it, okay. If I don't, I'll get back to you. But, it's the fact that it seems like now anymore these days, the minute the phone rings, it's in your hand. And in certain times that's good. Other times, you're doing this when you should be putting it down and listening to someone.
Yeah.
Or like at the table and you're talking to people, and instead of doing this, you need to be engaged with who you're with.
Because it distracts us so much, doesn't it?
It does.
And the other thing is, people send you a message and you think, I'll get back to them in a bit. And then you don't. And maybe you forgot, or life got in the way or whatever. And you think, why didn't I send that message? Why didn't I do that? So that's one. Probably one of the biggest regrets is a relationship. Romance is a huge area of regret for most of us. Maybe
Sure.
we dump someone that we wish we hadn't. Been there, done that, ticked it off. Maybe we got dumped by someone that we didn't want to get dumped by. We've all been there. And so a lot of us play, especially when we lose someone through death, we play that horrible game, the monkey mind, that game of what might have been.
Yeah.
Had for that, I would have been there. Was it not for this, I would have been there. And it is tough to be, we look back and go, is that the one that got away? Is that the one I was meant to be with? And our mind can absolutely stop us from being happy with someone, because if there is someone that you feel you're not over, or that you haven't told how you feel, or you're not sure, this is the moment to pick up the phone or call them and say, I need to tell you this, even if you don't like it, or even in case it doesn't matter, I need to tell you this, because that is speaking your truth.
Yeah. And honestly, I spent so many years trying to be someone I wasn't. And it took me many years to just be myself. And it might not be the best thing anymore, but I tend to speak what's on my mind now, instead of kind of, pussyfooting around and hoping they pick up on it. So, even though there are people in my past that I didn't tell, exactly how I felt about them, it was for the best.
Yes.
There's certain things that could have changed everything if I had told them. So I think that there's a line between regret and probably a good thing I didn't do it. You know what I mean? I kind of regret not doing it, but happy I didn't, because I listened to myself when she said, yeah, just wait. Just,
and
if
sometimes
the time comes, then you can. If not, you're good.
sometimes other people want us to go at their pace as well. Like
Yeah.
our parents may say, or our children may say, can you wait? Can we do this? You know, and we put our thoughts and hopes and feelings on the back burner because we don't want to upset our parents. We don't want to upset the children. We don't want to upset our partner. So, and this, what I'm trying to bring is the fact that we don't know that tomorrow is guaranteed. And so
Right.
if they said to everybody, this is your last day on earth, you know, everyone's going to be completely different what they do. And I think one thing we spend a lot of time over in our life, which I think is a complete regret, is worrying about what others think about us and not having enough confidence in ourselves. And I think that confidence comes with age. And I do think getting older, you definitely get that point when you're like, I need to tell them to fuck off more, because we don't
Amen.
say that. But when I was growing up, and indeed there is so much pressure these days to look thin, to not have any lines or bags, you know, everything's got to be, you know, for a woman in a certain way. And I think that there's so much body shaming as well that goes on. I mean, I was watching the news and there was Jennifer, what's her name? The Ghost Whisperer. Is that Jennifer Love Hewitt?
Yes.
And she's just done a movie and she's in her 40s. Like, she's had 3 children and she's obviously wearing great pair of Spanx underneath that dress, you know, good on her. Bridget Jones pants. And people were going on, well, I think she could have lost a bit more weight. And and look at her arms. And it's like, do you know what? You're going to get to that age as well. And when you're so fucking perfect, you know, look
Well,
in the mirror and change it.
well, those of us who cannot run to the doctor and get, you know, get all this sucked out,
Yes.
and you know, we have to live with our friends under our chin. You just kind of have to say, you know what, this is me. If you like it, great. If you don't, you know, get bent.
Yeah, because we
This
do
is
worry.
me. There's nothing I can do about it.
We do worry. And I think we know what we want to look like. We know what makes us feel happy. So if you're not happy with your figure, go to the gym, go on a diet, wear something that makes you feel good, whatever. And I think that we all get old and we need to stop body shaming and age shaming as well, because this poor woman, like, literally, I felt so sorry for her because I was like, men fantasized about Jennifer Love Hewitt so
Yeah.
much. And there she is, like, breathing it all in, like we all do. And she got that. So I think we need to stop worrying about what other people think about this, and don't be judged and base our happiness on what someone else, because on our deathbed, none of that matters.
No.
On your
No.
deathbed, you're going to go, oh my God, I wish I'd lost that 60, 6
Yeah.
stone, whatever. And confidence comes through standing in your truth
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
believing in yourself.
And I think, well, for myself, I've never really been confident. I've always been self-conscious. But the older I get and the more I can't do anything about it, you pretty much have to go, okay, I give up. This is the way I'm going to look. This is the way, you know, I'm going to feel. The ones that don't judge me, the ones that really care and really love me, they don't care what I look like.
Mm.
If I gain some weight, if I whatever, those are the people I want around me, not the people that go, yeah, well, you might need to lose a little, you know, or get plastic surgery or whatever. I don't need that because it's just me. And if you don't want to be around me, don't be.
I think what stopped me going down that sort of filler Botox, although every day us women have those thoughts that maybe this is the day that we should do it.
I mean, tell me I wouldn't want to get all that sucked out, but I can't. So I have to just deal.
It changes you. It changes you as a person. It changes your looks. And a lot of people taking it, is it Ozempic and the other one now, like, because we all want to lose weight quickly. And here's an injection that's come along that was used for diabetes. And now we're just like shoving it in ourselves and getting super thin, which is great as long as there's no long-term side effects or problems.
Well, if you use it for the right reason, it's great.
Yes.
But if you do it to appease someone else, that's not the right reason.
Mm.
You know, if you've tried other things and it doesn't work, and this will work for you, and it's something you want to do for yourself, I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. But I'm not going to do something to myself for someone else.
Yeah.
Because I think that is the wrong reason.
Mm.
And it's more detrimental to yourself to do it for someone else.
It's a very scary thing, you know, taking something like that and hoping it works. But I think also when we look about having that confidence to say, this is me, and as long as you love yourself and you feel like you're happy in yourself, if you're not, it's down for you to change it. Moving on, number 8, the life that my parents wanted me to live instead of the one that I wanted to. That's an interesting one, because our parents are always our parents, and if we're lucky, they're very supportive and say, look, whatever you want to do,
Yeah,
we're behind you. But some of them aren't, and maybe it's a religious background or a culture background, or I expected more of you. I haven't paid all this money for your education for you not to come through this, you know. And I think we put a lot of our happiness into what our parents think we should be?
I think it depends. Honest to goodness, I think there's a lot of doctors and lawyers out there that don't really want to be in that profession, but they're there because that's what their parents wanted.
Sure.
I was lucky enough to have parents that didn't push me to be what they wanted me to be. And I didn't push my girls.
Mm.
Other people were not so lucky, and I think that's why a lot of people are miserable, because they didn't follow their heart. They followed what someone else wanted them to do.
That isn't a recipe for success. And I think what happens is, you know, 10 or 20 years down the line, and we discover that everyone's like going and leaving the planet and we're left alone. It's like, fuck, this is not what I wanted to do. This is not the life I wanted for myself. Next one, applying for the dream job I always wanted. Maybe we didn't apply for the job we always wanted to. Maybe we had a child, or our spouse didn't want to move or wanted to move somewhere else. Was it the perfect job? Is there no other job out there in this big wide world that would be just as perfect? And I think that there's a true saying, sometimes you swing and you miss.
Yeah.
But like you say, if it's meant to be, you won't miss that chance. It'll come back for you.
Well, and believe it or not, I had a chance to go when I was probably 19 years old to China and work as a model. I turned it down because I wanted to get married and have family. At the time, I regretted it. For a few, for several years after, I kind of thought, man, what if I had went? But no, I don't regret it now, because I wanted to get married and have family, and that's what I did. And I, to this day, I've never regretted even though it didn't work out, I never regretted my marriage or my kids, because you know, that was my that's what I wanted to do.
But there's so much pressure on us as women to have children, especially with the generation that we came from. You know,
Yeah.
nowadays it's sort of encouraged, isn't it? You've got time, take time, you know, freeze your eggs if you want to, blah, 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 blah. We weren't given that. We were given, come on, chop, chop, clock's ticking, gotta go, gotta have it. And all of a
Yeah,
sudden,
you know, you got to have this done before you're 30.
yeah, and you wake up and you're
Um,
panicking, going, I've got to do it. I've got to have a baby.
yeah, yeah. And instead of enjoying life and letting things happen, you have that in the back of your head, and you think, okay, I'm trying to enjoy life and let things happen the way it's supposed to,
Mhm.
but I'm trying to hurry it up. You know, I'm trying to hurry everything up. And it makes for a miserable life when you think, okay, this is what I need to do, what I'm supposed to do. I need to focus on that. And you lose sight of everything that you could do, you know, and then let it happen. But I think we, you know, our generation especially,
Yes,
um, that's always in the back of our mind.
it
You know,
was. There was a pressure.
marriage, family, and
And it was
it stays that way,
because we
even
remember.
though we try to change it.
Because you remember those words, old maid, that we always had an aunt somewhere along the line that didn't marry early or didn't have children. And she was like the old maid. Don't want to end up like her, do you? Don't want to end
Right.
up like that. And there was a lot of pressure to go. When I was at school, do you want to become a secretary? Not like, do you want to be a brain surgeon? Do you want to, like, you know, do something else? It was like, well, maybe you could be a secretary. There was a definite generation difference of like,
Yeah.
we were meant to leave school, get a secretary, do a job, eventually get married, have children, and that's it. And women look not like they do today. Like the 50-year-olds today do not like the 50-year-olds of when we were growing up. And I think that had those women,
Generation X.
well, yeah, had those women's been given the chance.
Well, and it was always nursing. Never, do you want to be a doctor?
Yeah.
You know, there was still, when we were younger, there was still that stereotypical men's field, women's field.
Mm.
It was never, okay, do you want to grow up to be a doctor, a lawyer? You know, it was always a nurse, or, you know, like you said, a secretary or something underling. It was
Female.
never, you know, and instead of telling us we could be whatever we wanted to be,
Mhm.
it was certain things that were in their mind. I don't fault them for it because they were told the same thing. But our generation seems to be a turning point from the way our parents thought and the
Yes.
way the younger generation thinks. It's kind of a turning point, our generation. You know, we were the ones that kind of thought, well, why can't I be a doctor instead of a nurse? Why can't I be single until I'm ready?
Mhm.
You know, and I've tried to instill that in my daughters, and I think a lot of our generation have tried to instill it in the younger generation.
I think you're talking about like Generation X.
Yeah.
It was the generation that's defied and shown the music, the movies, the mental attitude. You know, it
Yeah.
was very much, it changed everything. And I think that looking back to when I was, in the 80s, we thought we could achieve anything. It was
Yeah.
the time of the yuppie. We can make money, we can be a success, we can have it all. And then everything kind of changed and further going into the 90s, into the 2000s. But
Yeah.
one of the regrets that a lot of people I hear, and this is something that's very similar to something that I can relate to this, bearing the hatchet with a family member or an old friend. And we all know people, including myself, who haven't talked to a brother or sister in perhaps over 20 to 30 years. Maybe one's in bad health, maybe they're going to pass soon. But neither knows what to do, or neither one wants to make an effort. And there's blame on both sides, you know. If they done this, if I done that, and so what you have is there were two children. You know, maybe when they were young, they were inseparable as kids, but as they got older, they hated each other, or they just never got on with each other. And now nobody makes a move to improve things because one's tried, the other was too stubborn. They've done all they can. They've washed their hands of the relationship. Maybe it's better if they're not in their life. Maybe it was too toxic. Will they regret this when the other one's not longer around? I haven't spoken to a family member of mine for a long time. And there are friends that I haven't spoken to for a while. Will I regret some of that? Absolutely, I will. And especially if they were to disappear tomorrow. Other people, I'm sad. Other people, I'm sad that I cannot have that connection and relationship with them.
Yeah.
And I wish I could change it, but it's not going to give me back those years that I've lost. But I don't think I can change it. I don't think it will change. I feel it won't change.
Yeah. But you have to think, is it worth a shot?
Yeah. Good point.
You know, even if you feel like it's not going to change anything, are you going to regret not taking that chance?
Mm.
You know, it may not change anything, but is it worth a shot to try? You know, and then you can be certain in your mind, nothing I do is going to change anything.
Good point.
You know, I think you have to think about the positive as well as the negative. Is it going to make anything worse if I try? Or could it possibly make things better? So, you know, I think in everything we do, we have to decide, is it going to make it worse? Or is there the potential that it could make things better?
Good point. And it's, have we got the courage and the confidence to do that? Because sometimes sleeping dogs lie, because you could be digging up a hell of a lot of old wounds that have settled. My grandmother, she never saw her brother. They fell out, and she never saw him again. And that was something that I think she was resigned. That was what was going to happen. But I think she was, part of her was like, that's the way it went. And neither was going to pick up the phone and change it. Let's put it that way. This is something a lot of people need to think about, because once someone's gone, you can't get them back. You can't have a conversation with someone and go, well, do you know what? Like, you know, so you have to weigh up that pros and cons. Am I okay if something happens to them and I haven't said something? Or will I turn around? You know, Michael brings up a good point, and I shall bring Michael in shortly, but it says you want it to happen organically, but you don't want to wait. That's a big one. That's a very big one to talk about, you know, bringing in a family member or a friend that some people you'll never trust again.
But you have to think, yeah, you want things to happen organically, but there has to be that bridge. You have to, it's never going to happen organically if you never see each other.
No.
You have to make that effort if you want it to happen. And, you know, I'm not saying that to rush out and to talk to everyone that has ever wronged you and try to make up. But there's a certain point where you have to think, am I going to be able to live with this, like you said, if something happens?
Mm.
And if you think, you know what, it's going to be worse if something happens and I don't go through with this, if I don't try to fix things,
You'll always wonder.
you'll constantly have that wonder, would things have been different if I had tried?
I think you've got to be in that position, isn't it, where it's like, I'm good with this. I'm good with this and I'm
Yeah.
fine. Scotty, my podcaster hubby.
Hey,
Long
Scotty.
time, no goddamn see. So good to see him on here. We've missed you very, very much. Right, let's have a look at this. The next one I want to bring up is not regretting that we didn't trust the voice in the back of our head or our gut instinct. I should have listened to it. Dearest wifey, thank you, honey. I should have trusted the voice.
Chocolate?
Well, honestly, Val, you're just gonna have to be wifey 3.
Seriously, really, Scotty?
Wife number 3. Why didn't we listen to ourselves? Why didn't we have this in the back of our head? Why didn't we do something? And I'm the world's worst for that, because there are 2 differences. There's the gut instinct. And I always tell people, when don't listen to this, don't listen to that, go with the gut instinct. The gut instinct's usually never wrong.
Yeah.
The first one. And sometimes we override that gut instinct because we think we know best, or well, I really want to do it, but what about this? And then we second guess, we analyze, we're juggling, where monkey mind kicks in and goes, oh, but if you do this, that's going to happen. And you're like,
That
oh my
what
God,
if? That what if gets us every time.
Somebody tell me what to do. I'm going to bring.
But that's what I was saying at first. The older I get, the more I go with that feeling.
Yeah.
Because you can overthink things too much.
Yeah.
But there's a reason that gut feeling's there.
Yeah.
And if you listen to that gut feeling, you're pretty much on track every time. I've never had my gut feeling be wrong.
See, I have questioned mine at times, and I've had the monkey mind, and I have analyzed, and it's wasted energy. What if? Coulda, shoulda, woulda, maybe. What about this? What about that? We need to just go, fuck off. I either do it or I don't. And if whatever I do, it'll work out one way or the other. Not asking somebody out. So we look back and go, that was the one that got away. I should have said something. I ended up marrying the wrong one. I ended up dating the wrong one. There was someone that really loved me, or really was into me, but because of circumstances, I didn't take that offer. And now I look back going, oh my God, I should have, and then coming away from someone, or not telling them how we feel, and then something happens to them. And then we say, I wish I said that. I wish I had taken the confidence to turn around and say, this is how I feel. And that's the whole rest of relationship one. If we always say what we feel at that moment, is it going to be the right time?
Honestly, I keep going back to that gut feeling because I feel like it knows when the right time is. If you start to tell someone something and you feel like, I don't know if it's the right time or not, you know when it's the right time and when it's not. If you just listen to yourself. And a lot of people don't know how to listen to themselves. They don't have that or they, not that they don't have it, but they don't know how to listen to that inner, you know, that inner person that knows what's best. Um,
Right.
it seems like I tend to, you know, want to say something, and before used to, I'm like, no, I can't do that because I'm too shy or whatever. And then all the way, home, I'm thinking, man, why didn't you just open your mouth? It's so stupid.
I also
But
think as well that it's confidence, it's age.
sure,
Age is
absolutely.
all about, isn't it? When we get older, we look back and go, I just don't care now. I'm just going to do it. Fuck them.
Yeah,
It takes us so long to get to that point,
yeah, absolutely.
and we're
Yeah,
juggling.
and I think that's why the older I get, the more my mouth might get me in trouble because I don't have that, you know, uh, I'm scared to say something, or I have my filter broke. I pretty much say what I want to say when I think of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have to, honestly, it's the opposite now because I have to keep myself from saying certain things when I
Sometimes
do want to say it.
the filter. I'm
Yeah,
saving some of the last ones to bring, when I bring Mike on, because I think you and him can relate to them quite. But one thing I want to look at before I bring Michael on is not taking care of my health when I had the chance. This is
yeah,
something that really resonates with me, because stress comes along in our life and it
yeah,
is a killer in so many ways. We don't eat properly. We're all guilty of it. We don't eat properly. We're running around doing this, that, and the other. We are tired, we work late, we party hard, maybe we take drugs, maybe we're sleeping with people we shouldn't be sleeping with.
yeah,
I think we think we're invincible. I think we think that human beings are invincible. We're not more, we are just mortals. But it's like, I think that we don't take care of our health, and then something comes along and our health suddenly goes, no, no, you're not going to do that anymore.
remember when you
And
did this when you were little? Yeah, now here's the consequence.
And also, if you don't watch what you eat, or you smoke, or you drink, as I said, or you take drugs, whatever your poison is, um, in the end, for every action, there's a reaction.
Yeah,
So if you're going to not take care of yourself, your health is going to suffer. And for me, stress has been the worst, because it gets in here and then it gets in my body. And then I start getting ill. So I've tried to, cut the stress out. But like you and I, we've both had turbulent relationships, aggressive, violent relationships in our past, which I wish I could go back and change, but I can't.
yeah,
And it's really important that we prioritize our bodies and our health and diet.
yeah. But like I said before, would you want to go back and change that because it made you who you are today?
Oh, I think I would have liked to have given less years to it. Yes, I would.
Well, that's the thing. I think we all have. I mean, I know I have certain regrets. Okay, I lost 5 years of my life, being in a relationship that wasn't going anywhere, and I knew it wasn't going anywhere. But there's nothing I can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go back and change that. So I have to look at it as a learning experience. And it changed my way of thinking. Um Honestly, when I started dating this person, I was the kind that wanted to be what they wanted me to be, act whatever the way they wanted. And by the end of that relationship, I'm just me. And no, it's not going to work because you want me to be someone I'm not. So that it took that long for me to change. So I don't necessarily look at it as a regret anymore. I look at it as a learning experience and a growing experience.
I think I can look back on and say there was a certain part of my life when I was married that I wish I'd not stayed in a celibate marriage for so long, because I probably missed out on having great sex in my life, you know, because let's be honest, how many of us have put up with a shit sex life? You know, we've been in a relationship and it's like, that's your lot, or we feel unwanted, we feel unloved. And like, why did we stay with this person? Why did we stay there with someone who doesn't care about our pleasure, doesn't care about how we're feeling? You know, I look back on 2 of my relationship, well, actually, maybe a bit more. But I would say there's a few of them that I go, well, that's bloody 5 years of my life that I can't go back, that I wasted on that son of a bitch. And it was the worst sex of my life. What the hell was I getting out of it? You know, what the hell was I getting out of it? So absolutely, I'm going to bring Michael in. Hello, Michael.
Hey, how you doing, ladies?
You've been sitting backstage listening to all this. What's your thoughts? And
taking a lot of notes. But the one thing that I thought of, there's 2 terms that you always hear when it comes to regrets, especially with ladies. One is the wall, and the other one is your biological clock. I always heard it going, well, she's not married, but then she's hit the wall and her time is out. And like you said, they treat you like a pry? Yeah, I guess that's the correct word. But I remember that, you know, that they say, oh, she ain't married by the time she's 18. Who wants her? Which, you know, and I grew up, when I went to school, the girls did home ec. I did home ec because that's where all the girls was. I wasn't stupid. But like I said, I understand the glass ceiling. And a lot of times, and that's like I sent you a message a while ago, said, you know, and I see women, you know, when I was in the Army, you know, we got a lot of the first female commanders. They was good leaders. They had more of a mothering type personality to them. But I think the glass ceiling is something that's still around in a lot of professions. And some women might regret not being able to work on an oil rig or go into a burning building as a firefighter, you know, and now you see a lot more female policemen. So I think the glass ceiling is going away. And not to sound much, but I think there's some career choices that should be steered away from somebody that, and I don't want to say what they always say, the weaker sex. No, I think, you know, and you know, that ain't really a nice term to use anymore in 2025. They
weaker sex.
Yeah, or the pair sex or whatever. And like I said, I'm trying to be nice. You know, Scotty knows. You know, he's, you know, he
I've just got to say hello to Scotty. My God, it's a mirage.
It is, and that goes back to regrets too.
How are you? I can't hear, babe.
Can't hear.
I can't believe he's actually on here. I mean, it's like, how long
since he's
been on here? Like, oh my God.
But like I said, you know, some career choices I think are better suited, you know. And I say this, and if Brian's watching, I probably catch some shit for hit. But I always like my nurses female. Seem like they have a little better care. But you know, and he's a good nurse. He's a great RN. You know, IVs.
But I think there's certain things that women are better at.
Yeah, more adapted to.
And there's certain things that men are better at. It's not a sexist thing. It's just reality.
Like I said, you know, I wanted to bring that up, but you know, I don't want to be. If anybody who has ever watched me on the show knows, I have got emails and text messages that says you're this, and this, and I'm gonna come beat your ass. I'm like, well, you know, the door's open. Get past the 2 sleeping dogs that are usually behind me.
The hell,
you know, wear it out. But you know, and like I said, you know, and I guess it's where I'm from because I'm not that far away from Valerie. You know, geologically located. You know, and we're raised to take care of women. You know what I'm saying? We open doors. We open car doors.
100%.
And you always bet because you know men are supposed to be bigger, more powerful. You know.
Well, it's just science.
Yeah, you know
We're
what I'm saying?
different. Period.
Yeah, that's the way I was raised. You provide and protect.
Well, I'm going to
And
bring Scotty in because can you hear us now?
Can you hear me now? All right.
5 by 5. And
There we go. There we go.
It is
I-
my podcaster husband. Hello, darling.
Hello, podcaster wifey. It's good to see you.
It is a long
Um,
time since we have been on the same screen as one another.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And we've got to remedy that.
We
But,
do. Robertson will return.
I have been down here so infrequently that all my stuff is shifted around. All my buttons are changed. And that's why I had no sound at the beginning. It was all unplugged. And I didn't know it.
They're secretly trying to keep you away from it, Scotty. How are you feeling before we carry on with the topic? How you doing?
I actually feel great. I feel fantastic physically. Legs healing, everything's healing. It's mostly lately. It's been the healing, and it's been the meds they have you on that have kept me pretty loopy and detached and brain fogged and all of those things. And then something else happens in there, and they take you back in, and they put you on this again and that. And so it's been a little roller coastery, but the roller coaster is at least going uphill.
That
So
is fantastic news.
so doing all right in that respect.
Because we all
And it's-
thought we were going to lose you at one point.
well, there was a point I thought I was going to get lost. So
We honestly
it's,
thought we were all praying, and we sent out thoughts going, please, on the show we say send out thoughts to Scotty and stuff like that. So it feels weird because normally it would be me coming onto your show on a Sunday, and the master, the pupil has become the mistress. But it's so nice to see you, and it's like looking at this topic about regrets and being, Michael and you both want to give a male point of view, and I'm going to ask you both a question. I'll come to you first, Scotty. Is there anything that you look back in your life and think, especially coming from an NDE, which you've almost had, that you regret, or you still feel that, and if you don't do it, you will regret?
well, yes. In short, yeah. I'm sure Michael, I don't know. Maybe I'm guessing wrong. Maybe Michael, from a guy's perspective, would have a totally different look on that. I would assume that he, like me, like most guys, there are regrets we have. Some of them are shallow regrets, shallow example. Wow, I wish I'd had sex with her. There's a shallow regret. To the big regrets, I wish I had accomplished that, or I had loved that person, or done that person, or done this thing differently. And so we have all our regrets. It's funny. I've learned a lot sitting on my ass in a chair with my leg up for the last 6 months. Done a lot of thinking and done a lot of, and you learn things and you pick things up, and you say, I wish I'd done that differently. I wish I'd done that differently. I wish I'd achieved that thing or that other thing. And so, I have regrets. If you want me to hone in on anything in particular, I certainly could. If we're focusing on, I didn't hear the beginning of the show, and I only saw the title of it in the promotional piece, so I don't really know where you've been going with this, other than the last 10 minutes, and I'm assuming it's focused around relationship.
It's anything. It's anything, because what I probably missed the start of the show. I lost someone quite special to my family last week. They passed away very tragically, quite young, and it brought up a lot of things in the family and people that knew him. That's why we're all wearing blue of some kind tonight, because it was his favorite color. And usually we're in the red, black, or white, but it's kind of like, you go somewhere and you do something like you've been through recently, and you think everything's going to be fine, and the next minute the rug is pulled from underneath you, and you are
Right.
to someone you love. So it's about loved and lost, and having regrets, and perhaps I should have said this, perhaps I should have done this, maybe I should have taken that job, and maybe I should have not listened to my parents, maybe my kids did manipulate me, maybe I should have had better sex, that sort of thing.
Yeah. There's things that I look back on. I have often said those decisions where you could have turned left, but you turned right instead. I look back even to like my military days. Michael, you might be able to have some affinity with this. And when I found out I couldn't serve normally because I had done something to my back, I was given the opportunity to stay in the Marine Corps and go to their advertising department in Washington, D.C. And rather than fly F-14 jets. And so I considered it, and I didn't do that. I made a different choice. And I went into advertising back home. And I thought, where would my life be had I followed and pursued the advertising with the Marine Corps? That would have been, oh my God, I was in the Marines 42 years ago. So that gives you an idea of back when. Other decisions like, say that again?
I said on that story before I forget.
Yeah.
I seen a guy that went back through basic training at 59. He was in the Marine Corps, joined the Army, went into Army Reserves, and he needed 2 more years to get his full military retirement. And he went back in, and took him like 4 years to get all the paperwork done. But they told him, they said, the only way you can do it is go back through basic training at 59 years old. And he rocked it. This old guy's a specimen. But the reason he did it is because he said, I want the opportunity to serve with my son.
Nice.
And he did it. But I'm looking at this old guy, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's still like, I'm like, at 59, this guy's a unit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, so you're talking about, it's never too late. Like I said, there's grandpa out there knocking it out at 59, going through Fort Jackson. I'm like, wow. But, if somebody told me, because I'd love to go back in uniform, I would. I miss it every day. I miss the guys and girls I served with. But if somebody told me I had to go back to basic training right now at 53, I tell them to get bent. I've done my time. You know what I'm saying? I scream and throw things. I don't get screamed at or get things through at me now. So, no.
You've earned that right, haven't you?
Yeah, that's it.
I would think I might be able to handle the physical side of that if I had to. It's just working out. It's doing, you can get to any level you want. But for somebody screaming at me and telling me what to do, I might be like, you can fuck off. So I wouldn't last. Is all I'm saying. I'm being a little tongue in cheek there, but I probably wouldn't do it for that reason. I could imagine myself. They told me they were going to waive boot camp for me because it was an injury I sustained in boot before I even went to officer training. Yeah. And we'll waive boot camp for you if you want to stay in and go into advertising. And I was like, no, I actually had gotten a job. I called back on. I got a job over the phone, knowing I was coming back. And so, yeah, there are lots of regrets. There's lots of regrets because you look sometimes, and I know Wendy and Val and maybe Michael to a certain extent, we look back at you look back at relationships and you say, now, of course, there's also the pasture is always greener on the other side of the fence syndrome that goes on a bit here. But there are times you say, I wonder what life would have been like had I stayed with that person or done that thing with that person or gone that way. And would it have been different? Would there have been more of what I feel I needed out of life? Would there have been more of that affection or more of that love or more of that? We all think those things. And we don't know because every relationship develops in its own way. And you just don't know. I know if I'd gone a different direction, I wouldn't have the children I have now.
Yep.
And, or, you know, obviously, philosophically speaking, if you'd gone that other direction, you may have had different children. You may not have anyone. You'd never know the difference.
Hmm.
So, those are the things that you think about sometimes. You say,
That's an interesting point, because I want to ask you three, because you do have children.
Mhm.
And one of the things that people seem to regret about is, did I spend enough time with my children? And I'm just going to bring a light in this slightly. Should I have spent more time with my children? Have they suffered by the fact that it's not quality of time that's important, but it's the quantity of time? We get so busy with work and life and everything, and the next thing you know, we're at the office late again, or we're having to stay up late to do things. We're trying to bring the money in. We're the only parent in the family, and if we don't work, we can't support our children. And then the kid comes along and says, Dad, can you take me to this at the weekend? Or can you do this? You're like, I'm so sorry, I
Sure.
can't. I'm trying to juggle it. Do you feel that you did? And if you did, great. But if you didn't, do you regret it? Michael, let's come to you first. What's your feeling on that?
There's a thing I heard the other day. The song "The Cat's in the Cradle." The little boy always said, "Hey, Daddy, when are you coming home?" And then when he got older, the little boy growed up, and the dad was trying to make up, and he's like, "When are you coming home?" He's like, "Eventually, I'll get there." And the other one is the dance, Garth Brooks. You know, if you knew about the pain, would you have still done the dance or whatever? And he says yes. And like I said, well, y'all know behind the scenes, I try to make up for a lot because my career took me away from my children growing up. And, that is a regret. But I always try to look at the bigger picture. I was the wolf that kept the battered wolves from the door.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an old saying, and it was like when we went into Iraq, I always said, if you give me 20 minutes, I can justify, invading a sovereign nation. And and you do start justifying things in your mind. And I think for men and women, there's a lot of similarities, like with kids and stuff like that, because you do put your life on hold. And a mother might stay with an abusive asshole because she's staying there for her kids because he can provide a bigger house, food on the table, security for the children at her detriment. And, I stayed with an ex-wife because I wanted to spend time with what times I had with, with my kids. And it's like, what is it? 6 in one, half a dozen in the other, The regrets I have is staying with her because it didn't really make a difference for my kids. And I remember she sent me a text one time. Oh, do you ever think about what could have been? I said, yeah, every time my stomach hurts, I think of you. That's what, that's how I associate that relationship with. But I'm the same man, I love my kids, and if I had them with somebody else, like Scotty said, unless we live in the multiverse, Avenger type stuff, you never know. Or is Michael going to be the same? Is Shelby going to be the same? James going to be the same? You never know. Somebody said, well, you should have picked better mothers. Well, that would change their whole DNA structure, which would change them as a human being.
Good point.
And I tell people that, and I'm like, do it. So, you can't really say that you regret being with them people because you would not have the kids you have. You just have to live and learn. And same way I see parents pushing their kids to do this, and this. And I can sit and watch the parents that have regret by how they push their kids, like in baseball, football.
Do you regret not spending enough time, quality time with them?
Yeah. And you see me, I put my life on hold now several times just to try to make up for that because, you feel like garbage that you wasn't there when your kids was young. And, hell, now I'm getting old. I even feel bad if I don't spend enough time with the dog. It's like, I was going to say.
What about you, Val? Like, do you feel that looking back to you as a mom, do you feel like you gave everything to your kids?
Honestly, I gave all I had to give to them. I regret some decisions I made that not necessarily involve them, firsthand, but secondarily it did involve them. I do regret certain decisions, but as far as quality time and the time I had, I made a point to make time for them any way possible that I could. So I don't regret not spending time with them, because I did spend as much time as I possibly could have, figured out how to spend time, with work and school functions. And, I would take my lunch at work to go see their choir concert, or, if I had to work, I made a point to always be at everything that I could possibly be at. So as far as that goes, I don't have regrets, because I did everything that I could humanly possibly do.
See, before I come to Scotty, because I know he's got a lot on this subject he's going to say, but for me, I grew up in a parent situation where my parents should never have been together. It was it was not a nice situation whatsoever. Lots of arguments, a lot of fights.
Sorry about the alarm.
Seeing everything going, it wasn't good. And I wish my mum had left so much earlier, because I'm not saying my parents are terrible people, but they are so better off apart than they ever were together. And I don't have really many happy memories of seeing them happy together. Like, I think I have one photograph behind me which has the step parents and my mom and dad in it. I have no memory of my parents actually doing anything fun with them. And when you're at school and everyone goes, oh, my dad's going to pick me up and my mum's going to do this, I never had that opportunity. School time would come, the chair was empty, and he rarely turned up. So for me, it was like, I think my mum should have left him a lot earlier, but because back in the generation we came from, back then, people didn't leave. They stayed with situations. I know so many people that have stayed with the relationships. They're living in a spare room. They're not having any sex. They're not having a relationship with anyone else. They spend their whole time, children, work, their lives are going past as well. And I always have this thing. Your kids will grow up. They will go on to have a life of their own. They are selfish. They will leave behind. You must also, and do deserve, as a dad and a mum, to have a life as well. Scotty, what's your take on it?
Wow. If we were to stick on the topic of kids, certainly I've got two sets of three kids, as most people who know me know. I've got my three older kids, and I was the sole custodial parent. My kids grew up with me, living with me in my home. And those three are one way. I've got my three other kids with Rainey, that there's about a 9-10 year gap in between the two sets of three. And those kids are very different. There's very different influences, very different social media influences, very different. They have a mom and a dad at home, where my other kids only had a dad and the mom was over there somewhere.
Yeah.
And so those first three kids, we have talked recently, my older daughters and my son, is that they grew up in my home and they wouldn't have had it any other way, because we had a very different kind of life. I had all the people from the Renaissance Festival that would come by, all my friends. There was always an open door policy at my house. So my kids got to grow up around a lot of people, and they enjoyed that. My kids now, there's different influences, there's different things going on. And I haven't aired anything about this. Of course, I haven't done many shows in 7 months, but we're having a little bit of trouble with our 13-year-old daughter. And she's very troubled. And I think there is some mental illness there, which would be on the level of bipolarism, manic, and other things. And the things that have come out of her mouth to me have been, and she targets me with it all. So I listen to the things she's saying. It makes me sit and go, wow, what did I do that? Was I that bad? Did I, have I really not been there for my kids? Am I that detached? And yet there is so much of it that is also meant to push buttons, meant to do things, meant to raise levels. Just to give you an idea, and this is all I need to say about this for you guys to understand it. She's been on an ankle bracelet, and she was just taken away by the police again yesterday. And she'll be back tomorrow. But so there are things my sweet little wonderful child, what do you do when she's only 13? She's not even an adult yet. She's got, I will tell you this, she's got the body of an adult. She has, I would say, some people might look and say she's an early bloomer. She looks the way and has the physical appearance that Rainey had when I met her, and she was 12 years older. And so she's got that, but the mind hasn't clicked into the maturity level yet. So I look at that and I say, it makes me wonder, what are the things that I have done? Are there, I get regrets to say, I wish, because there are some truths in what she says. How do you validate, this is a whole nother show you could do, but how do you validate somebody's words when you know at the core, the basis of their argument or whatever is false? It would be like me saying, Michael, I respect you, but I hate you now because you're a murderer. And you'd go, well, hey, I can understand the respect thing, but I've never murdered anybody, kind of thing, It's that kind of a, and I'm talking cold-blooded, nasty, And it'd be taking an extreme, and using that as the foundation for a
very
feeling,
hard to deal
but
with.
it's not.
It is.
It's not true.
And
But you have to validate, because the love is there. Now, how do I validate this? So we're going through a little bit of that. I'm going through that with my child. And, my 15-year-old son is fine. My 10-year-old daughter is fine. My older kids all are aware of this. My son was here. My 24-year-old son was here when some of this took place yesterday. So do I have regrets about it? I think if I really think about some of the things I've seen her say and write, I have regrets, because I say, wow, I wish I had not done that thing that way, or acted that way, or ignored her that way, or whatever it might be. Because those are the things that we might say, as we're regretting, say, those are little things though, but they were big enough that they stuck out in her memory and she wrote about them.
But would they have, if this illness hadn't been, if she didn't have that?
I don't think so, because she does some pretty wild things.
But see, it's not necessarily what you did, it's the illness.
And maybe
So,
I hit on something. Regret is filled with fear and self-doubt.
Yeah.
Sure.
When I regret something, I regret out of my self-doubt. I regret out of my fear of having not done the right thing. or I regret it. I regret out of sadness, maybe. So there's all kinds of factors that affect us and make us regret.
I know.
And look at me. I'm on your show for the first time, and I'm sitting here and I'm misting up because
That's okay.
my whole life in the last 7 months has been a building. My passions, my emotions, everything's raw.
Yes.
So
And
I
that's
should have been. I regret not being more careful talking about this because then I wouldn't have
But the
gotten
thing is,
emotional about it. So-
what I want to say to you with that is that with our children, they know what buttons to press.
That's
They
what I
know
was
exactly how to hurt us, and
Right.
they know exactly how to do. And there are so many kids that
Yeah.
say things to their parents, and I've heard my mum had things said to her, and I've said things to my dad. You can't take it back once it's said, and as a parent, it wounds you deeply. But at the same time, and we take it on personally. I mean, I say we, but I've seen my parents and my sister and everybody else. They take it on personally as a parent. I
Right.
must be a terrible mother, a terrible father, because
Sure.
why is my child turned out like this? Why is my child throwing this at me? The thing what I wanted to say as well, you have been through a lot, and it has to come out, and you have to let it out, because if you don't let it out, it will just, and we know where that leads. So I think it's good that you're amongst friends,
Yeah.
and you know,
I generally have no problem.
this, as JP says, you're a good brother, safe
Yeah.
place here. You're amongst friends and family, and
I appreciate that.
on that thing is, I think the illness, and she's scared that she's going to lose her dad. And when she's scared,
Well-
she's hurt. And what do you do when you hurt? You lash out, and you hurt the person that hurts you. It don't matter if it's intentionally or unintentionally.
Sure.
And like I said, I had an incident here. I went out for my birthday. I was sick, the mini stroke or whatever. That morning after the procedure, I'd called Wendy. She's like, "What the fuck's wrong with your eye?" And I'm like, my eye's fine. Just holding it up with my finger.
Yeah.
Because I'm hard headed. You know what I'm saying? It's stupid.
So
But even, the first time I'd come out of the house in 6 months, my son decided he's going to steal my truck and take it on a 10-mile high-speed chase.
nice.
And I even told the cop, I'm like, "I'm sorry, dude, that you had to go through this." He's like, "No, he's the one that's been a fucking dickhead. You did all you can." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "But I should have hid my keys better. I should have took them with me." He's like, "In your home, you should not have to hide or take your keys with you. If your truck is home, you should be able to leave them there." But even he's 22 years old, and I'm still like, what did I do wrong?
Right. You start to self-doubt. You're like, what did I do wrong that he would do
Yes.
But I
that?
think that's human. I think we all do that.
And
But
I've always told him,
and as a parent, I think when we're talking about our children, we automatically look at ourselves
yeah,
because we raised them.
my mom used
So
to
we
always say,
automatically look at
reflection,
ourselves when
Yeah.
anything goes wrong.
yeah, my mom
But-
always said,
But
kids are a reflection of the parent.
But Scotty, I think you have to realize that if it were not for the illness, I don't think anything like that would have been done.
No,
Maybe I don't know, and that's something that I know there's a lot of misunderstanding about what I went through. I don't think I was ever really. It wasn't an illness like a cancer or anything like that. It was other things that you fight against and you bristle against and you worry about.
Sure.
And there were times I'm sure I have been shittier and grumpier and crabbier because for the most part, even at the times where I felt good and I felt great, I'm still restricted to sitting with my leg up. And the meds take you down and you're like,
Yeah.
God damn it, I feel great, but I can't think for shit.
no.
Yeah.
And
Sounds like how
I
I
couldn't
hear
formulate
colors.
names. I couldn't remember anything. I thought I was bad before. And
But Scotty, one thing I will say about you, I've known you a very, 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 very long time, and you're an amazing dad. And I wouldn't mind you have had you as a dad, because I think your elder three and your other children coming up behind will eventually turn around and say this as well, because you are an amazing dad. You give, and that's what a good parent does. They give to the sacrament and sacrilege of them. Sacrifice of themselves, because you lose a part of yourselves when you become a parent. You're not, Scotty, Val, Michael, where I could just go out and do what I want or not have to worry about anything. I have these little mini me's around me that I can't do that. And I think that we beat ourselves up a lot, and our children, as I say, very good at pressing and manipulative, emotional blackmail. And I think knowing your youngest, and I can't say more than that, but knowing youngest and seeing her over the years, I would say this has been something that's been waiting to happen for quite a long time. And
maybe so.
Get to a point.
Maybe so.
You have to get to a point for it actually to come out and be dealt with. But for you, you're still a man. You still got thoughts and feelings and opinions. You're still Scotty, Michael, Val, myself. We put so much of ourselves to one side because of someone else's thoughts and feelings and opinions. And then we turn around and go, as you say, shitty sex, shitty relationship, sleep separately, don't do anything. My life is just flying past. And this came about, this subject, because somebody I care about very deeply looks back and says, I wish I'd had that opportunity. I wish I'd said that. I wish I'd done that. If I had said that to them when this person passed, then I said something to them, but I wanted it to go. But because of the children or because of certain situations, I couldn't do it. And now I have to live with it. And this is why I wanted to bring up the last one was, so someone has passed and you were not there when they passed. And there were things that maybe you needed to say to them or you wanted to say to them. And now you're never going to be able to say them because they're gone. Now, maybe you had an argument. Maybe you fell out with them. Maybe they were with someone else. Maybe it wasn't, they were abroad. Maybe it was an accident nobody knew. But how do you live with that? How do you live with yourself when there are things that you want to say to somebody but you no longer can? What do you feel, Val?
Before Val answers, can I just jump in and say I've got somebody here that came in unexpectedly and I need to go upstairs and talk with them. And so I've got a lot to say about that one, so maybe another time. But Wendy, you and I, as we've tried several times,
yes,
we have got to connect and talk, and
let's do it this week for sure.
We've tried several times and it's been unsuccessful, so I'm here. Michael, it's good to see you. Val, very good to see you.
Good to see you too, Scotty.
And JP says, clearly I regret not having done our motorcycle adventure. That's true. Maybe talk to him about that. Get him to call and he'll talk about that regret.
Yeah.
So Wendy, I love you. It's good to see you. And I will talk to you soon. I'm sorry I got to blast off here.
Bye, baby.
Right, see you later.
Yeah.
Wow, you were saying.
I try my best not to do regrets.
Oh.
I do have certain regrets. There are people that I wish that I had said more to, and now there's no possible way for me to tell them face to face. I think if you do love someone, no matter how much you interacted with them, no matter how much you talked to them or what you said, when they're gone, you're always going to find something that you feel like you should have said, or you could have said, or you should have done, or I think you can always find that regret. No matter how much you were with them, So especially the ones that you never got to say, goodbye to, you never got to say I love you, you never got to say how you felt about them. You have to trust that up until that point, they knew. They knew how you felt about them. I think that's one reason that now I try to, if I'm talking to someone on the phone, I try to tell them I love you, or, you know, before I hang up, because I don't know what's going to happen, and you never know when or what's going to happen. So I try to tell people every day how I feel about them. My daughters, my mom, my aunt, all those. Every day I tell them I love them. Every day.
I think it's important.
Because I don't know when something may happen to me, and I won't get to make sure they know that. Or something may happen to them. But if I make sure that they know how I feel, even if something happens to me, they'll know.
Okay.
Or if something happens to them, I'll know that they knew. That they were important. Yeah, that's probably the one thing that I try to do every day is tell my family that I love them.
Michael,
And make sure they know.
for you, have you been in that situation where
Yeah.
you lost someone and you didn't say what you needed to say?
Yeah, and and it's up. And when my dad was sick and he was passing, you told me to go to the hospital. That way, you don't have no regrets. And on the way down there, I was thinking of the guy that I saw that had the big tattoo on his chest that said "No regrets." I thought, boy, I bet you have regrets not learning how to fucking spell. Now it's tattooed on your chest. But even though he didn't respond to me and he played me off like he was incoherent till the nurse came in, I got it off my chest. My mom, when she had her stroke, it was sudden, and I could not have that closure with her. So now I'll go out sometimes and I speak to her, her body, or well, she's not there, but her tombstone is. And and like I said, family that I've made, and when I say that, we call each other brother and sister for a reason, because that is your family that's green. Everybody's talking about no color in the Army. I said, yeah, only one, green. That's that's all that matters, and they become your family. And I've lost people that you should have said, hey, you're a really good friend. Thank you for getting me through this. But at the end of the day, you always try to like man up or whatever, and you had your feelings, and you eat them down. I bet JD's wishing he had a bigger coffee cup. His regrets is he didn't buy the big coffee cup. Oh,
no regrets at all.
No regrets.
No regrets.
But yeah, like I said, in the Army, there's some things I wish I'd have done better, with people that I had interactions with. But
do you regret? I mean, obviously, with your mum, were you not there when she passed?
I was, but she was out of it. She was comatose for like 28 days, and
You didn't
I
get
was
a
in
chance
that, because the day that she had the first stroke, I went down and she told me, she said, because I'd been working like 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, just running crazy. Because you chase the big love in America, capitalism. You got to chase that dollar. You got to have more of them. The neighbors got a bigger boat. And I remember she told me, she said, Michael, go home and get some rest. You look like shit. I said, well, I'm not the only one that looks like shit. I said, if I go home and get some rest, you need to get some rest too. Because my mom always said, she was the first one that would get in your ass, but she'd also pick you up if you needed it. And I said, okay, Mom. I said, I'll go home and get some rest. I said, but you got to promise me you're going to get some rest too. And that's one of the last things I told her. And they kind of whisked me away to go home because I was out on my feet. And they called me the next morning and said she had a massive stroke and basically left her brain dead. So there was nothing else that I could, what I'm saying? She was there, but she wasn't. And So, then I had to make a lot of hard decisions that aged me a lot. But I don't regret making them decisions. My dad or my brother couldn't or wouldn't make them. I'd look at them and tell them, say, no balls, And, and I carried that weight, and I don't regret that either. But, it's like, I got two brothers I haven't spoke to, one in almost 20 years, and the other one is 10 years. And I get shitty messages from family like, oh, we know you're wrong. You need to apologize. No, I don't think I was wrong. Well, be the bigger person. Well, what you want me to be the bigger person, or you want me to admit that I'm wrong and lie to, everybody else and lie to myself? I'm not going to do that. So I don't know. It's, like you said, and I've said this before, sometimes when people are shitty to you, they're like a cancer for your happiness. And the only way you get rid of it is to cut it out of your life.
It's a very true saying.
And like I said, and I've got these shitty men, and I just tell them, hope you have the day you deserve. Because I know my truth.
It's important because I had a friend, Justin. He was 15. He had an accident. He slipped on a rug, and he did his collar shoulder bone. He was a big guy, 6'5", big guy. Always did archery, massive chest, massive arms. We were really good friends. And he slipped on a rug. He did his shoulder in. They said, we're going to do an operation on you, but the thing is, it might nick apparently your taste buds. And he was like, okay. So he had the operation. It did happen. It did nick his taste buds. He couldn't eat or drink. He went from being a 17-stone muscle down to nothing, like he'd had cancer. He couldn't eat. He had no appetite or whatever. And he kept having what we thought was anxiety attacks, but actually they were heart attacks. They were small heart attacks. And he had a massive one so quickly. Took him out just like that. None of us got the chance to say goodbye to him. COVID had just hit. We couldn't even go to his funeral. He never even had a funeral. None of us got to say goodbye to him. I mean, he wanted all this Robin Sherwood music and the Hooded Man and all this kind of stuff, and he's never going to have that now. And I think I look back and I think I was due to see him just before it happened. I was, sadly before it happened, I had arranged to see him, but I was sick. I didn't get to see him. And then we were going to have a conversation between us where there were things that I know he wanted to say and I want to say, and now we'll never say them to each other. And this is why I think it's really important that sometimes to get that courage to say something to someone, even if they don't feel the same way. I mean, what about you, JP? It's nice to see you. Welcome to Wicked Women. It's been a little while. How are you?
Been that long? Thought I was on the last one. I dropped it and caused problems. So when you say what about me, I'm assuming you mean regrets and things like that. There's a lot of stuff I could talk from a bunch of different perspectives. There's definitely regrets I have as a father. But some of those things, when I look at it, it's like, no, it's the best decision with what was going on at the time. And, ultimately it worked out well for the kids, things like not being present enough when I was still stationed in upstate New York at Fort Drum. Every time a FORSCOM units get 4-day weekends and 3-day weekends all the time. Back during GWAT, because everybody was on a deployed for a year, home a year schedule. And, I was only 7 hours from where they lived. So it wasn't no thing to drop a 4-day pass and run down there and spend the weekend with them, whenever we had long weekends or things like but then when I moved up to the Midwest and got stationed out at Fort Leonard Wood, that changed. Now it's a 17-hour drive. It's a $200-300 plane ticket. More if airfare is not happy and prices are going up. And then you have to look at when my parents moved to Alabama. Well, now I no longer have my parents to stay with, so now I have to look at lodging. So the logistics becomes even more costly and more
hotel, rental car, food,
and so it turned into more of a quality time rather than quantity of time. and stuff like that. So, you know, but their mom, you know, getting divorced when they were young and things like that, you know, yeah, I wasn't around, and maybe I do regret not being around more, but they also had a happy mother, you know, who wasn't going back and forth all the time with me. And they, a good man for a stepdad who, you know, really stepped in and was a, you know, good male role model for them in their lives. And, you know, a good person all the way around, you know, so really, you know, is it a regret? Like, no, if the kids come with me, and like, they would have been with me for the school year or until a deployment, and then they would have been down in Virginia anyway, and I would have been gone for a year, and then they would have moved. Like, it would have been chaotic for them if they hadn't gone. So, but with stuff like where I have some serious regrets are not calling my grandparents enough. I've got one left, all right, and he's 93. And my one grandmother on my dad's side passed while I was in Afghanistan. There's nothing I can do about that. I didn't call enough. I didn't drive back to Ohio enough. I didn't do all of those things, and now I can't do it except to go visit her grave. You know, and then my grandmother on my mom's side, you know, thankfully passed while I was home. I could go to the funeral, things like that. But still, again, I didn't call enough. I didn't drive back to Ohio enough. You know, and these were people who loved me very much and always made sure to, you know, send birthday cards and Christmas cards and a little something in the holidays, you know, all those kinds of things. And I was just too busy living life. And it's not that I didn't care about or love them. It's just life overtook my brain because I didn't allow that. I didn't force myself to make that more of a priority. But going back to a comment that I made earlier with, you know, you do what you best can. You do the best you can to take the information from the events and apply it for lessons learned purposes and do better next time. So with my kids, I hounded them a lot. I was like, look, I get it, right? I'm dad, you're teenagers, you're learning to live your life and you know, find your way in the world as an individual and stand on your own 2 feet, and that's beautiful and I love it. And you know, that's okay. It's okay if you take a couple of days to reply to a text or a phone call from me, but by God, Papa and Grandma call you, you need to answer that phone. You need to return that text. Because I'll tell you right here and now, from my own experience, one day you ain't gonna be able to call them back. You ain't gonna be able to text them back. And especially when you really want to. You ain't gonna be able to ignore their calls and texts. And that lesson stuck vicariously through them. So now they're really good about talking with Papa and Grandma. Still not so good about talking with Dad.
Because my mum and dad are in their late 80s. They don't see a lot of their grandchildren, and maybe they don't have the easiest of relationships with them because they're different generations. They come out with things, the kids react to it. But we all say to them, you should ring them or go, spend 5 minutes going to see, or whatever you need to, because once they're gone, they're gone. Yeah. And I think my nan wasn't the easiest of persons to get on with, but at the same time, and she died very suddenly as well, out of the blue, and she didn't want us to know until it was
done.
We didn't know. But it's like, I think we need the very good point that I want to pick up from JP is this is a very important thing. You should, if you do have grandparents, even if you just give them that will make their day. If you ring them and give them 5 minutes or just pop round for a cup of tea or coffee, it will make their day. They'll be so happy to see you. So happy to see you. So I think it's really important. That's a really good point, JP. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, that's my regrets. Everything else is one of those things of a you know what, things happen for a reason, and put me in this spot for whatever reason, whether there was a lesson learned to
There were a lot of other ones that we actually didn't follow, and obviously time's running out now, so because we're due to end. But one of the ones I just want to bring up: don't take life too seriously. Have more of a laugh, enjoy yourself, let your hair down, because life is super short. Gone on more trips with family and friends, had more time to go and see beautiful things in the world, made an effort to have good memories. Letting my marriage break down. The divorce, do I regret my divorce? Yes, I do. Why do I regret it? Or some people don't regret it. Some people say, why didn't I regret that I didn't do it sooner? Especially if there's infidelity as well. So that's another one. Taught my kids to do more stuff. What was the other one? Getting involved with the wrong group of friends or being in crime. Doing something that I can't take back. Which has led to me being in prison or me being arrested for it or whatever. That's another one that comes along. We were impressionable, we got on with the wrong crowd, or I made the wrong decision, etc., etc. Not getting the degree that I should have got at college, didn't work hard enough, just flunked out, just didn't really care. Choosing the practical job over the one I wanted. So I took the job because it was easier, perhaps more money than the job I really, really wanted to do, which would have taken more time. And the last one was not having the courage to stand up and say how I really feel about a subject, whether it's an event and a funeral or just to someone, never having the chance to say. Before I end this subject, I just wanted to say to everyone who's ever watching this and you're going through a tough time, whatever it is right now, life gives you chances to say things and do things, grab opportunities, make things happen, because we always think we've got tomorrow and we can put off and etc. He says, well, we don't. Some of us don't have tomorrow. We've only got what we've got today. And the question is, what are we going to do with the rest of our lives to ensure that we don't experience any of these regrets that we were talking about tonight later on, or when we're in the hospital or at home preparing to leave the planet? Something to think on. I want to thank everybody that's been on here tonight that has shared a regret or talked about their experience. Scotty, JP, Michael. And while I come out and go very briefly, because I'm trying to bring it on, I'm going to go slightly very quickly into the afterglow, which we haven't done for a while, and talk about lots of other things. So thank you for watching for that. Anyway, Val, how's your week looking? What have you got planned?
Well, my floor was flooded, so I'll be working on that. I'll be trying to deal with that, along with I've got some orders to do for my epoxy things, so I'll be working on that probably most of the week.
What is your store name on Etsy?
I don't have an Etsy. I'm working on getting a website, but a lot of my stuff is on my Facebook page. So
this lady is talented. She has so many beautiful things with crystals in it and handmade, the skulls, the pyramids, which Michael can show. I was showing a friend yesterday some of Val's stuff. This lady can do anything you want. She can make, look at that. It's so pretty.
I'm not the best looking model, but the skull looks great. Let me find the pyramid.
You're doing good, Vanna.
It's really pretty. And I said to Val, like, yes, have you got this? Have you got that? And she said, I can. Look at that. It's beautiful. What's in the middle, Michael?
A black skull. This is a skull or a pyramid with a skull in it. And this is a skull with a pyramid in it.
Lift up the pyramid so we see that one better, because has he got red eyes?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't remember, actually.
I know it's heavy enough to break your toes if it falls on it.
Yeah, I will.
Found that out the hard way. I don't think he's got red eyes either. No, he's
The
more
skull
clear.
was amazing. And
But
isn't that
I can pretty much make whatever anybody wants.
isn't that what you put a candle inside, Val, and it lights up?
Uh,
I'm
Is
sorry.
that the skull that you put the candle inside and it lights up?
The one, it is an organite. It's got the layered crystals in it. And I'm actually making a layered snail now.
I saw
It's
it,
not
looks
finished yet, but
show her the Bigfoot feet, because I got 2 of them coming too, and they glow in the dark, and I will be showing them
Bigfoot
off
feet.
when we come back.
JP, how's your week looking? Anything exciting?
Nothing super exciting, just work. Was down in Joplin yesterday for a Missouri Route 66 Association meeting. Got asked to join the board for the 66 Association. And then was also approached by some of the board members about trying to help them set up basically like, pin-up type shows, competition, since those have a lot of draw at car shows and things like that. So when they do events, and they know that I hang out in the rockabilly scene and I appreciate all that stuff and know people. So I'll be brainstorming with my friend Joe, who has competed in more pinup competitions than I can count on 2 hands and 2 feet over the years and things like that. Kind of help me come up with something. That's kind of that.
And did your passport turn up?
It did. It did.
Good. And so snail mail did it, right?
Snail mail did it. Well, okay. So are you talking about me sending in snail mail and then it coming back snail mail? So I found out I could actually get everything done online. I think they adjusted some of the windows in which you could submit after however long your passport's been expired. And I was like, oh man, my regular tourist passport falls within that. Like I've got a year left to do it, or it falls out of that window. But
So basically, you're free to go wherever you want now.
I am, barring any countries out there wanting to, kidnap or murder Americans.
Yeah, what does the State Department say right now? The countries we can't go into: Iran, North Korea. And I never wanted to go to these countries till they told me I couldn't go.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Bring a little democracy there. But Wendy told me something when I got my passport. She said, and a lot of times, and I tell people this: America is so big, we can travel vastly without never leaving the country, because the U.S. is big as Europe, or what, I forget how big it is. And she's like, don't you ever want to leave America again? I was like, no, I just now got home, now I'm ready to retire and hang out with the dogs. I really don't want to leave, but I got my passport and it gave me my, my freedom back to get on an airplane and say, look, I'm going to the UK. I'm going to Germany. I'm going, I don't know.
That's why I love to hear like, Europeans and UK folks, be like, oh, I never see my parents because it's a 45-minute drive over to whatever. And it's like 45 minutes. And like they come to the US. It's like, we're still in Texas. Oh yeah. We're in Texas for like 10 hours.
19 hours later. Yeah. You're still driving.
I think the thing about a passport is it does give you the freedom to go where you want and do what you want. And I think so many people have a very shallow or blinkered view. Why do I need to go anywhere else? Why do I need to see anything else? Because my country's great. Well, actually, there is a huge world out there with some beautiful sights and beautiful places and beautiful experiences waiting to happen. And if you just stay in your own comfort zone, you never grow, you never push yourself forward, and you don't experience it. And how do you know that you going to that one of those places could make a difference in someone else's life? I was talking to a friend of mine. He went on holiday to Vietnam recently. He went out there on his own. He was on the beach. Someone had a heart attack right in front of him, and he did all what he could and bought them back. And he said, and they said, if you hadn't been there, because no one else came forward and did anything, but if you hadn't been there, they might not be breathing now. You don't know that your presence may not make a difference. So get your passport, get out there and see the world. And I know it's a difficult place sometimes. And believe me, your own country can be our own place when everybody else is coming to it. But at the same time,
if you got a boat and a paddle, you can come to the UK. That's what they say.
Yeah, well, you know, you don't even have to have a boat. You can have a dinghy. You can just find your way here, and we just let you.
I want to quiz you real quick, you know, and that's what the afterglows for. And Jason said something other about your experience. You know, in the Army, after they smack you, they say, "No, that was a teachable moment." But, you know, just like,
What's he
but
want
that was teachable.
Yeah, teachable moment. Yeah, teachable moment while somebody's got their boot in your ass. But you've been to Canada, and in Canada's, you know, well, most of the Canadians live within 150 miles of the United States border anyway.
Yeah,
it's a vast country, but it ain't as laid out like the United States are. And I've had people tell me, I want to fly into New York, drive to Florida, then I want to hop over to LA. And I'm thinking, you just planned out a 3-week drive, dude. You know what I'm saying? Because it's, I forget how many miles it is from New York to Florida.
How long do you have in the States? 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
do
you're
it.
constantly driving. Yeah.
Places.
What's
But
the question?
that's what I'm asking you. I know you've been into Canada and you've traveled more than just in the UK. Do you ever think that when you get here, and you're going to get here if we got a hog tie, and bring you across kicking and screaming and get here, did you think that your ideology on everybody needs a passport would change after you see how big, you know, I'm a proud American, you know what I'm saying? That's the reason I got whatever. And, you know, and I'm brainwashed to think that we're the best. You know, that's what we was told in school. I pledge allegiance, hand over your heart in the Army, biggest, best, you know, leanest, meanest. Do you think your ideology would ever change when you get here and see how big and how many, every state is like a different country. It's like 50 different countries. That's
a very good point. Very good question. Okay, so what I can tell you is I come from a small island which has got a lot of people on it, and the Brits used to rule the world, as we well know. And they didn't want to stay in their own country. They wanted to go everywhere and conquer everything. When I went to Canada, I was completely surprised at how big it is. It was like, and there's more, and there's more, and there's more, and there's more. Would I still want a passport? Would I be happy to stay in one country? No. I would always want a passport. I would always want the freedom to go to anywhere I want to in the world because it gives me that freedom. And I think it's like everything in life. Your country might be wonderful. It might be big. It might have beautiful things in it. But there's another country or there's more people or experiences waiting for you. So no, I would always have a passport.
And you know how I feel about that, you know, because I always like new culture or whatever, you know, new food. But I was going, because I follow a lot of Brits that's like on TikTok or Facebook or even the New Zealand family that I absolutely love. They watched our 4th of July fireworks and it was in tears. And I thought, you know, these people need to be immigrated now. You know,
well, I think a lot of us would leave the United Kingdom at the moment because we're so many other people coming in and joining us. And it's like you're on the beach, you're having a time with the life with your family. Hey, look, there's a boat full of 50 young men that's just turned up for
you notice they don't bring women and children with them, right?
No, not many. But I also think as well, if you don't travel, it doesn't broaden the mind. And I think by going to different cultures, different places, it broadens your mind. And I think you come from a very small part. And by going further out, you incorporate into yourself and you become a much more rounded person. Had I not lived in Canada, had I not gone back and forth and had the experiences I've had, like Val was saying, I wouldn't be who I am today. I still want to do America, still want to come and see America. I want to travel all the way around America. So much I wanted to see.
Lord.
And places like Transylvania and Russia and Japan, loads of places I want to go.
I want to go see Vlad's castle.
Vlad's. Who wouldn't want to go and see Vlad's castle?
But Vlad didn't mess around. You know, hey, you want? I tell them, they say the wall don't work. When you build it with human bodies with sticks up their ass, that most definitely is a deterrent.
But I will say this: most Canadians I know, and I know a few,
and they want to be Americans too.
They want to stay as Canada. They
Oh,
some of
Al-
them would like to be more on America's side, but majority want to stay Canadian.
Alberta-
I don't blame them. Why would they?
Alberta has put it on their ballot to vote to become the 51st
I
state.
doubt very much that will happen.
They did they put on their ballot to become the 51st state, or did they put it on the ballot to secede from Canada?
That's what
Secede
they
from
want.
Canada,
That's
but
exactly what they want. They don't want to be the 51st state. They want
Right.
to be on their own.
They want to be
the
Alberta.
lady was real tongue in cheek. She's real catty about the way she said it.
Yeah.
If we leave Canada, we're going to need a really good Southern ally. Wink, wink. You know, we would be open to talks to see how things would go. You know, kind of saying it without saying it. And I'm thinking, I like this woman. She, you know, she sounded like some other politicians they have here. You know, she threw out this big ass word salad. Everybody knows what she's thinking, but she's not saying it. And I'm thinking, come on, lady, tell them, hey, go get bent. You take all our money. You give us nothing
Well-
back but bullshit and taxes.
It's like if you asked
Yeah.
England to be part of France, or if you asked Ireland to be
Well, why
part
would
of
you want to go
England.
around surrendering?
Most of Ireland would turn around and tell you to fuck off because
You know,
they
and-
do not want to be. They
Oh.
don't want to be next door to us. We might be next door, but we don't want to be joined to each other. The Scots, poor Scots, they don't enjoy it being with us, or the Welsh
How many
either.
times they voted on independence here in the last 50 years?
Yeah, yeah.
Val,
Yeah,
that just leaves
Ireland,
you
yeah.
without a passport. So everyone else has one now. It's now down to you, lady, to get one.
$300. You know, just go ahead and answer the
She
uncomfortable
wants to come.
question.
While I'm still here,
Yeah.
woman, get your ass over here.
That's the reason I started really pushing. I want to go see the UK while it's still a Christian nation. And I've said that before.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and it's like me and JP, you know, we're going to round up some buddies. You know, we still all got bump helmets. You know, we don't move as fast as we used to. But,
If we just,
but
I
here's
mean,
the deal: if we
need
take it back
everyone.
from
There's so
everybody
many
that's
beaches. We
invaded,
need.
they better fucking keep it. You know, we'll do it. We'll do it for
Well, I
you.
mean, there are a lot of places that I do want to go.
Home Depot.
Home Depot.
You know,
Yeah.
there's reasons that I haven't up until now. And, you know, getting back to the show, I do regret certain things about not getting on a plane and going out of, you know, fear. But it's
Airline travel, even with all the things that we've seen in the news, is still statistically astronomically more safe than driving someplace.
yeah,
Just
that
putting
doesn't
out
help my fear of it, JP.
Well,
It's
I'm
that-
due to.
I
I'm due
won't
to
show.
fly
I won't.
soon
I,
now, so, and I'm scared shitless.
I won't show the picture on here. because
See, I say that, and then I know what Val's attitude about it is. Val's going to sit there and be like, "Yeah, Jason, but you are aware there are more airplanes in the ocean than there are submarines in the sky." So,
Well,
Your
my
logic, man.
it's just my inner fear. I have a fear of flying. So,
start calling
you know,
B.
it's not
if you don't want to take a boat because the Titanic sunk.
I'm going to start calling you BA,
No.
Val, and then we're going to have to trick you by putting a sedative in your milk.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. If I was to get on a plane, it would have to be either a BA situation
Okay, buddy.
But
okay.
Once you've done
or
it, once
life
you've got over
or
that fear,
death.
once you got
You
over
know.
that fear, Val, once you've done it once, you would then turn around and go, do you know what? I honestly didn't think it was that bad, because most people say that
But-
after they've done it.
I may be to the point where I'm like, okay, I've done it once. Do I really want to push my luck again?
Yes. We need
Because, you know,
Okay.
okay, I got by with it once.
All right,
Do I
so
really want to push it some more?
this scenario, we're going to see how serious Val really is about this fear of flying. Val, there is a suitcase in a locker down in the underground in London. All right, $23 million hard cash. All you have to do, no questions asked, all taxes paid, none of that. All you have to do is get your passport, get on a plane, meet Wendy at Heathrow. She will drive you to the underground, walk you to the locker, hand you a suitcase of $23 million, and she'll say, go do whatever you want to do. If you want to swim back across the Atlantic, that's on you. You got $23 million now.
Fucking yacht.
Are you going to get on that plane?
You know, I would probably get on a plane, but it would be after hesitation.
Oh Lord. You know what? Everybody's talking about the glass ceiling or whatever. When I
Yeah.
flew to Phoenix, we had a whole female crew. The pilot, the co-pilot, the engineer, navigator, whatever, because there's 3 people in the cockpit. All the flight attendants was women. And everybody's like, I'd have got off the airplane. I was like, there's all pretty damn good looking women. I said, I'm Southern and I'm not stupid. I figured if they licensed her, she's like, did you enjoy your flight? I said, immensely. But
Cheeky.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, immensely. But you know what I'm saying? And like I said, you're talking about glass ceilings and
The first
Amazing.
time I flew, I was so scared. I was terrified. It was from London to Belfast, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I've had terrible flights where it's dropped in turbulence, bounced. Flying to Canada is the worst. Every time you go into Canada airspace, it's like, boom, 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 boom.
Where would you fly
See, I
into?
would probably have my face in one of those bags the entire time,
they
so I
got
probably
plenty
wouldn't
now.
notice anything else except the bottom of that vomit bag.
But
I
actually,
don't remember my
the more
first
you
time.
do it, the more you do it, I have to say it's a good thing to do. So Val, that's what we're working on. You got to get your passport. I want to say thank you to everybody because I'm going to shut down now because I
I was
have.
going to tell her the liquor cart. The
do
liquor
know.
cart. The liquor cart is the best part. If you're nervous, they got a whole cart.
And the
I would
perfume.
I would more than likely have to take a Dramamine, or I would be sick
Oh,
and get liquored up because I don't know that I would be able to do it any
How
other
about-
way.
How about the guy that the one we were talking about the other day, the one, and they said, I'm going to take you on a trip. We're going to go on a little holiday together. You'd be packing
Oh,
your
honey,
bag,
I'd be piggybacking him all the way to the plane.
You've just got to have that
No
incentive.
question, no question.
Incentive. It's all about incentive.
It's
Okay.
what it is.
but and me and JP probably has a different flying experience than what most people have because it's only 1% of the population that has
Oh,
been in
you, look, man. Once you've done a combat descent to landing in a C-130, man, you're really not scared of anything else.
Yeah.
No, it's like I said. But I remember.
Yeah, but
and,
I can't say that I've been there, JP.
without
Right,
giving too much
yeah.
away.
Fun
But-
ride,
but
though.
when
You start to
but
like
when
it
you
after a while.
When you look over and you start seeing daylight come through the fuselage, and you're like, "What the fuck is that?" And they're like, "Oh, they do that every time we come in. They take pop shots at us, but they never killed nobody yet." And you're like,
Yeah,
"Can
no.
you still approach
No.
this fucking way?" And it's like, Jesus
Well,
Christ.
Gonna take a hard pass on it, boys.
Yeah,
But
combat,
they're
yeah,
shooting
yeah.
at airplanes and they're still landing okay. See? Higher
That's it, yeah,
statistical probability.
I have
Yes,
to
he
go.
is.
So I'm ending this show. Thank you so much, JP, for coming in. It's
Cut 'em
lovely to
off,
see
Wendy.
you, sweetheart.
Good one.
Always
And
a
I will
pleasure.
see you soon. All right. Take care. Michael, thank you so much for
Oh,
being here tonight.
But before we go, there's one thing that you got to do because he did pop in. You got to tell Uncle Terry that he was not naughty, that he was good, that he came.
Terry, you weren't naughty tonight. You came, you saw. Brilliant. Thank you. And thank you, Michael, for being here
Yes, ma'am.
tonight. Really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's bring out the lovely Michael. And that just leaves me and you, Val. And I think it's been a great show. Thank you so much.
I think so too.
It's good to see you back
I
tonight.
think it was very sweet of you to honor your friend.
Thank
And
you.
and I hope we did, give someone the peace of mind to be able to follow that inner voice that we all listen to.
And face their
It's
fear.
not just
Right.
we're not just alone. There
Yeah.
are people out there that understand, even
And-
if we have different views about it.
And face their fears, because a lot of people are scared to say it, do it, act on it, follow it through. And I think sometimes, as I said with you with your passport, sometimes the biggest hurdle is just doing it, saying it.
Yeah.
So I hope if anyone has watched this tonight or whenever they watch it, life is short. or can be short. Sometimes it's long, but life can be short. Say the things you want to say. Don't let anyone like put you off it. If you need to say it, do it, and make sure that you have no regrets, because at the end of the day, regrets are just wasted energy in some ways. Quite a lot. Val, I don't think I'm going to be here next week. I have a show to do. I think unless it pours with rain next week, there will be no Wicked Women. We will be back, and I'm going to bring up the date. We will be back on the 3rd of August with the long-awaited show that everyone has been asking for so long. That will be Good Vibrations. It's already out on there on YouTube. You can see that it's advertised, Good Vibrations. That is going to be quite a show and a half that we have been putting off for so long.
It is, and we are going to do our absolute best to keep it
100%
adult and grown up. Adult, not no pun intended.
Ken will be here for that one, knowing that.
Yes, we are going to do our best to keep it professional as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's who we are. We are professional. Thank you for watching Wicked Women. Val will take us out, but thank you very much for watching Wicked Women. You know, we work very hard at this. A lot of things go on in our own lives. We don't always feel great, but we try and turn up and give you a really good show. Val's not often great. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's Michael, but we all bring our own energy and element to it. And it means a lot when we get a lot of feedback from people to say, missed you. Where were you guys? Really loved the show. And if it makes a difference to one person somewhere in the world, we're doing a great thing. This meant a lot to me tonight, this show, and I want to thank everybody for bringing in their own interpretation of it. And I know that Heaven's gained a very brighter star in it, even though it's far too soon for them to be there. As I said, we won't probably not won't be back next week. It will be August the 3rd with the Good Vibrations. So for my part, thank you very much. Have a great week. Take care of yourself. Val, take us out.
Again, I want to thank everybody that come on. And I want people to know that it's not abnormal. It's not bad to have regrets. We all have them. But it's the way you interpret those regrets and the way you move forward from them. That's the change that we need to make for the better. Don't just stay in your regrets. Move out of them. And use those regrets as learning experiences. And everybody that's watching, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, like, share, all those good things. And we will see you on August the 3rd.
Yes, like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. Share it around.
Yeah, that's right.
And also, Val, let's get your webpage and stuff out there. Bye, Terry.
Yeah, I'm doing my very best on getting a website.
We need it up as well. Listen, it's been lovely to see you, darling. Hold fire as we come out. Love you, and see you all soon.